So a warm welcome to the second information event on our project for an open publication database for the life science, with a wonderful working title, OLSPub. And we are very pleased that our initiative is attracting so much interest. We are already more than 90 participants, but more than 240 have signed up. So I think we start anyways right now with the introduction and hope that the late runners hop on soon. The first part of the event, which is our information input, will be recorded and published on YouTube on the ZBMed channel. And the second part, in which you have the opportunity to ask your questions, will not be recorded. But we will document your questions and your answers in a Q&A on the project website. And the URL to the project website you can already find in the chat, and maybe we should said it again, that also the late runners have the chance to see the project website and visit it. And there on this website for the project, you also have the opportunity to support the project with the contribution of your name. And there will be no obligations with this if you support us with your signature. And we would also be pleased if you would like to join the group of supporting institutions and send us a letter of support from your institution. We have prepared a template for this, which you can adapt, and this you can also find on the project website. And with this, I would like to introduce you to the project team. My name is Eva Seidelmeier. I'm a postdoc researcher in the Data Science and Services department at ZBMed. And today I have the honor to moderate this meeting. And in addition to me, there are other members of the project team today who have all different expertise on the topic. So first, it's Dr. Miriam Albers, who's the head of the library department at ZBMed, and alongside Professor Konrad Förstner, who represents the Data Science and Services department. And also our director of ZBMed is present, Professor Dietrich Repold-Schumann, and the three of them will give the introductory presentation. Also present today are and open for questions later on are Petra Labriga for the Acquisitions and Consortia Office at ZBMed, and as well Dr. Klaus Lippert, who's the head of Discovery Services. Yeah, and after the short introduction, the input, which will take about 15 minutes, we can start the discussion. And if you already have some questions during the input, you can write them in the chat, and then we go through them afterwards. And with that, I'll give the stage to Miriam, Konrad, and Dietrich.
So wonderful to meet you all here, and we are happy to give you an overview of our planned project, which is should be an alternative to PubMed. But first, let's see what we're going to show you. We show you what are the framework of this planned project, and what is our project proposal all about, and what are the next planned steps. And I'm going to start to give you a rough overview why we are doing this. And I think you're not here if you not have an idea of this, but we are all looking to the US and other countries with some concerns in the last month and weeks. And we heard news we never thought we would hear. And it's not a concern just we have, but we also have seen that our customers, as of our library at ZBMed, has this concerns. So here I have something which is, I think, quite normal for the researchers at the moment in life science. They have big concerns. What's going to happen if PubMed will be still there the next day, will be the same PubMed as the day before. And already this concerns costs every country, every institution a lot of money because of the time the researchers spending in concerns instead of researching. And so we thought, what would be the right answer? And so we think that there's just a big change. It's not about all about US. It's more like we had a long time where we all were dedicated to globalization, and that was really good. So we met each other, and now we learned that globalization is not the answer for everything, but we think there's another answer we need to find, because the danger is if there is just one just a few politics, or like also some nature um, um, catastrophes or whatever going on. So we think there's something we need to do to change the research infrastructure. And the first thing we noticed is that US research activities changed, and we saw budget cuts in a lot of countries, not just US. And then we lost contact with researchers from the US. And then we also got the message that some countries are not allowed to use US databases anymore. And a lot of more going on. And, you know, for us, the US is just an example. We don't want to blame anything. We just want to say there are problems where we need the help of all. And
so no, we are now to PubMed. So to some degree, as Miriam pointed out, science should not be driven by politics, and politics should not have an influence on access to data resources, infrastructures, and but I think this has changed, at least when we consider that PubMed is one of the key resources in the world for the medical domain. And all of a sudden, this seems to be under threat because there's several reasons why politics may play a role here. And that's why we are sitting here and why we are presenting an approach, a method, a project, which could be an alternative to PubMed. So PubMed, I think everybody of you knows it really well. And I think everybody who has done research in the life science or medicine over the last 50, 60, 80 years knows PubMed. And it's published from the National Library of Medicine in the United States. It has about 10 million search queries per day. The content is over 30 million bibliographic references for medicine, health, biology, and much more. And the core component is Medline, a database which receives data from over 5,200 journal titles. So this is really an important and valuable and precious resource. And it cannot be excluded anymore that this will be restricted to the United States. Countries from the outside would have to pay for it or don't get access. So there's a lot of things that may be a problem in the near future. And there's also a real big uptake of PubMed in other sources like in PubMed Central, OpenAlex, and many more. A lot of institutes download the data, analyze it, and use it. So there's a major concern about restrictions on PubMed in the community, and this is why we act here. And so we did kind of a market analysis or kind of the setting of PubMed in the context of other resources, only to make sure to figure out, could there be alternatives? Could our proposal be an alternative? And certainly we do want to engage with the community. We do want to work together with whoever would deliver for such a solution. And that's why we did the analysis for any alternatives to PubMed. So first of all, there's PubMed Central, which is delivered by EBI, and then there's OpenAlex, which is where we are also involved. And but they're all based on the PubMed data. So this doesn't solve the problem. It would be still the same problem if PubMed is not any more accessible. Then PubMed Central would have a problem. OpenAlex would have a problem. Then there's Embase, Scopus, Web of Science, which is delivered by companies. And certainly we don't see this as well, the companies certainly have their purpose to do so, but they're not free of charge. So that's not the same thing. Getting access to it would require licenses and payments. And so our belief is that there should be, again, and in the future, an open solution. And then there's Livivo by CPMed. And then again, this is based on PubMed data. So although we deliver this, it doesn't solve the problem. And so none of the databases are open source, which means that their existence depends on financial supporters. Next slide. So what we were thinking about, we kind of sorted out whether we could deliver a solution. And that's certainly kind of a big thing. We don't just come up and say, okay, PubMed can be replaced by something else. But we do have some experience which pays in, and you will see this in the presentation by Konrad Förster, who will give the details on the project. So the first thing is that we do deliver a discovery system, which is used, which covers methods of data science. It's called Livivo, and it's mainly meant to deliver the content that we do hold and deliver to the German-spoken community. So it's kind of our access point to our own content. Second thing is we do have experience with the PubMed data. We have been dealing with PubMed over the whole lifespan of Livivo, downloaded the data, integrated the data, indexed the data, made it available, have regular updates, and used methods to make sure that we are up to date with PubMed. The third thing, and this may not be quite obvious, we do have experience with mesh. And we are not generating the English mesh, but we do the translation of the German mesh. And we have dealt with mesh in the past over and over again, either that we developed methods for annotating abstracts with mesh terms, or we dealt with translation issues. And so over the last 4 years, we have been doing the translation of the German mesh, and we have dealt with all the issues about the standardization of the content and adapting the representation of mesh in according to the formats of the NLM. Then we do know life sciences, and this has several angles. We do know medicine. We have been dealing with publications and publishers from the life science domain, and then due to the fact that we do research and developments in life science, we do know the networks in data science, in the German national research infrastructure, and in the publishing environment. So we are well embedded to communicate to different communities, including the publishers. And then the last thing is we are publicly funded, so we are not a commercial company. And that's why we foster open source and open science. And I think this is the right remit to run a project which would run PubMed from a European level. And for this, I hand over to Konrad.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, let's have a little bit more detailed view at the specifics of this project proposal, although in a way we are already right in here right now. So we propose a project of 18 months that should initiate and build the foundation of all that we envision here, to then build upon that and continue there. The goal is to develop basic version, an alternative of PubMed, a drop-in replacement, including the data consolidation. That is the foundation then for further work, as I said. Everything done there should be fully open source and open data, so that after this term, everybody can pick this up and can build upon that and can continue there. We have the proposal handed in already in May of 28th of May, and it's fully available. You can read this. We have here the link to the Nodo submission there, and you can have a look at that and see for further details if you're interested in. But in principle, we are already right in here because we want this very strongly community-driven, and here we are in this information event before this is even evaluated and actually really active. The submission was also done in English to make it actually accessible by the global community and not only by the German community. And yeah, exactly. So what we want to do is actually build a strong community, and this is key here. And this is, again, what we're doing already now, having these events. We had the first one in German. We have now this one in English to really embed and build upon the global community that is interested in consuming, but also in contributing to the results and to the project itself. And that is something that we did from the beginning on, and to try to make this as possible. Additionally, the data is here the core part that we are producing. As mentioned before, there are alternative interfaces like our ones, Levivo or PubMed Central, that build upon the data. And we would like to build a pipeline that is creating exactly this. So taking the metadata from the publishers and processing this in a form that is equivalent to what is done at PubMed, and providing this to the global community, building also clearly upon the previous data available there, and several sources for that. We will also build the foundation for the mesh annotation, which is a key part mentioned before. It's a key part for making this really accessible and filter, for example, in searches for certain topics. And we will build an interface that is equivalent to the one by PubMed, so that the user does not have to learn new patterns, but can basically use the same search terms, the same search patterns, in order to find the content as used before, or as done before. We will build here on the infrastructure of the German bioinformatics network, and by this are able to scale this up to even higher demands if needed. We will start here small, clearly, and build up the community over time. But with this at hand, we have the chance to really scale it up to, in principle, serve the global community in a reliable fashion. So what are our short to midterm next steps that we would like to do? Well, we need to communicate the importance, and this was mentioned in the very beginning. While we're very happy to rely on the US here as provider for this information for decades, and we're really thankful for this. We learned now in the recent time that diversity and distribution and having a federated approach here might be really important for such resources. And there are good examples in the infrastructure, in the scientific infrastructure, where this was historically already the case, where we have distributed systems. And what we would like to do is build here very strongly on the community, and by that creating a resilient and sustainable solution, making it open for everyone interested in this, and making it also a place where everybody can contribute and benefit from. What we're also doing already right now is actually monitoring changes in PubMed and Mesh. There could be certain motivations to remove certain content, either in PubMed or Mesh itself. And we are, due to our own service that we're running, have the data available of the recent years, of actually the whole time in a way, and can detect if there are any dramatic changes happening, and can make the community aware of this. So this is currently ongoing. You will find all the information, or maybe you can stay one slide back. Thank you very much. You can find all the information presented here, and even much more on the website that we have created for this. And we have also made this where we update the community regarding changes and further developments. And here, hand over again.
So what we plan in the long term, first of all, we hope that we will have PubMed in this quality like we had a long time, that we will have it forever. But if this is the case, we think our project makes still sense, because then we will use this project to open it for other languages than English, like German, French, Italian, or other languages, and build up a life science portal for other languages than English. And if PubMed, for example, is restricted with resources, maybe our project can help the NLM and help the US, and maybe they can use some parts we are developing, because everything we are doing is open source. So maybe we could be in help for the US too. And so we think for us, this is more like just a project. It's also kind of maybe worldwide, hopefully worldwide idea. And the idea is that we need to stay together, and in the times where kind of barriers build up and everybody say, I must be first, we think we need to talk, we need to be in contact. We think that we need to be flexible. We need to use other structures than we are used to. We need to be quick. We need to be to change what we are doing. And we need public structures, of course. And first of all, we need to be open. And we think that openness will give us safetiness, and that we will be safe with research as long as we are open, so everybody can reuse everything. And so this is the end of our presentation. We are happy to answer your questions. And as Eva mentioned before, if you want to support us, we would be very happy to have your support, and you can do it as a person or as an institution. And so thank you very much.